vessel where I belong.
For a long while, I was simply convinced that I wasn't ever going to enjoy a project by Dev Hynes, or Blood Orange as he is now preferably known as, after the 2000s indie car crash known as Lightspeed Champion, whose music I would ironically like to speed as far away from as possible. From undercooked instrumentals to a falsetto that seems to swing Hynes' vocal melody out of the proximity of the right note, there were reasons that I couldn't really bring myself to talk about the 2016 album Freetown Sound. At first I did want to review the new Blood Orange album, but you know what? I want to review something that's actually a little bit interesting. It has been a considerable few years since then, in which Blood Orange's latest album was indeed peppered with one too many random set pieces, but ultimately created a much more admirable and deep portrait of Hynes' deep scuba dive into black heritage and queer identity. Some songs were still undercooked, but more importantly, I finally understood what Hynes was always aiming to do, create a sense of family and closeness, in spite of how bleak the lyrics truly were. There's something so subtle and warming about Charcoal Baby that genuinely still makes my eyes water, which is an improvement over drooping them shut. It seems to touch upon these themes of identity like cold fingers pressing up against a glass window. It feels incredibly intimate, and so the sincerity wins me over in the end. Angel's Pulse is less of a portrait and more like a simple capturing of more songs in this moment of time, and it may sound as if these songs are Hynes' most undercooked and underproduced yet, with several of them hard stopping into the next track. Others simply sound unmastered and crusty. Some vocal lines even seem to cut off early. But don't be fooled, in spite of these aspects, the songs are some of Hynes' most immediately compelling yet, which means yes, I have indeed been won over by a Blood Orange project. This mixtape doesn't place Hynes in the center of its narrative, rather it is a chorus of voices that add onto one ongoing song, whether their voices are commanding or fragile, influenced by black musical styles from sultry neo-soul to cold-faced southern hip-hop, which are all interconnected and influenced nonetheless. Gold Teeth, produced by Project Pat, Hooked by Tinashe, and Yeah Hoed by Gangsta Boo, sounds like a seamless crossover. Dark and Handsome, closer to the beginning of the mixtape, is driven by a very rigid drum groove, and yet sounds as if it's floating smoothly with vocals that are both natural and auto-tuned. Benny Revival appears on the track and raps a loaded verse, and when I say load, I do mean load. I also had a great laugh at how seamlessly that despot joke was weaved into it, but no matter what is actually being said, the bigger picture looks more like a humorous self-evaluation of selfishness and lust, where he attempts to ground himself by taking himself back, reminding himself of what's more important. It's a much more sincere and brutally honest self-evaluation of avoiding the trappings of lust than, say, Mind Sex by Dead Prez might be. I'm still horrified by that one. It also sets up the scene perfectly for Take It Back, where Joba, yes, that Joba, furthers the self-reflection theme with his own story, being able to see a reflection of himself in somebody else, who he would have been lost if he hadn't met, once again tying this series of tracks together like a family of voices. The more that you read about how Hynes met these different musicians and developed relationships with them, eventually inviting them onto songs, you realize how pivotal and vital this idea of community and family is to the music of Blood Orange. And beyond any abstract theme, no matter what I'm hearing, there's one thing that sticks out to me quicker: melodies. These songs are so immediate to me. They carry value despite being just mere fragments of a bigger musical mission that Hynes is on, and they are arranged so preciously. I started to realize sooner that collections of even the shortest musical vignettes can still spell out something so deeply and richly meaningful anyways. The vibrant piano arrangements only elevated it to an 8 out of 10, served on a table with taro and cassava pudding.